Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geri Petito Show on D.A.M.O.N Looks. So, yes, I've got a really awesome guest. You see this cute guy right here, ladies? Well, he's married. That's number one. But number two, he's got some incredible news to give everybody. We all want to know, like, what we should do to better our lives. We're going to be talking about something, true living leaders. Okay, is the topic of our show, and he's going to be talking a lot about that and what he does. And he's a motivational self-empowerment, all this great, cool stuff here, guys. Okay, so we're going to talk to Michael Peluso. So, Michael, say hello to everyone.
Hello, everybody, and thank you, Geri, for having me on the show today.
So, thank you for being a guest. Before we get started, I do have to say, everyone out there that knows me knows I am the author of I'm Not an Addict, I'm Just an Ass. I'd rather be a smartass than a dumbass. Because, guys, listen, 29 years ago, I was a dumbass. But 29 years later, through God's help, let me tell you that first and foremost, I'm now a smartass. So my book is about addiction, and I'm here to help anyone. Reach out to me if you need some. Listen, this isn't about money. This is about me helping save a life, okay? So I'm here for you. So having said that, Michael, so when I met you through Ava, actually. And she told me what an incredible young man you are. And let's tell everybody a little bit about what you do. Let's start there.
Sure. So, Ava is a gem, isn't she?
Yeah.
One of the things I think that I'm always touched and inspired by between the two of you and is just how you guys are out there making such a big difference for so many people's lives. So I think that even before I even begin in any direction, I think that that's so important for us to acknowledge, because you guys are out there every day making a difference. And I know that this show and the people that are out there listening to this right now, you're out to accomplish something great in your life. And it's motivation that comes through these kind of vessels that really makes a difference. So thanks for being here, and I'm just really honored to be on the show. And so what is it that we do here at True Living? Who am I? Why should you care? What's that about? So True Living is a professional lifestyle organization. We originally came into being around health. I have a background as a holistic health practitioner and help many entrepreneurs and professional athletes and visionaries and create a healthy lifestyle. And as I began to really discover what a healthy lifestyle is and what it looks like, what it feels like, what needs to be in place, I realized that that the people that really change the way that we do business, change the way that we do things, like live, are the entrepreneurs of the world. And the best thing that I can do is to give them that backbone in business and in mindset and in lifestyle, so that while they're out there changing the way that we do things. These are the innovators. These are the people like Google, brought into the world by entrepreneurs, to give them that backbone so that they could do it without compromising some of those core values that I think that so many business owners do. So that's kind of what we did here at True Living.
Well, I like what you just said about not compromising, because to me, that's key. I couldn't be a fake person if you paid me, and I couldn't compromise my principles if you paid me. So I love hearing that from you. That makes me respect you even more.
Geri, I love it.
It's the truth.
It's absolutely accurate. Yeah. Right, because like what nobody wins when you do that. Even if you're quote unquote, and I hate the word wrong, as if people are wrong is such an invaluable word. It doesn't bring us into any good. But I think that if you're speaking authentically and you're communicating with yourself and others authentically, that's where that edge of development comes from. So it's about not holding back and living on the edge, right?
Not holding back and living on the edge. So I'm going to tell you a really funny, cute, little tiny story, just so that the listeners could really understand even where I came from or what I'm about with business and everything. So I'm from an Italian family, and you have to work, you have to make money, and blah, 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 all that crap, right? So my dad bought me a beauty salon, made me go to beauty school because my aunts were all beauticians and blah, blah, blah. So I had to do it. Anyway, bought me a beauty salon back in the 80s and everything. And I liked it because I'm an artist and I got to paint on the nails pictures and it was really cool. But it wasn't, I wanted to do my thing, So anyway, I had very, very wealthy clients in the Princeton area. And I had business owners. I had lawyers and judges that are still in my life today. So I had very prestigious clients, okay? One of my clients, she's gone now, and I will not say her name, but she owned businesses in Lawrenceville that everyone went to and everyone knew. And she was a very tough woman. And I was in my 20s. And she came into my salon and she started bullying my workers. And I threw her out. And I threw her out and I said, and don't let the door hit you in the butt. Okay. So my dad wanted to kill me. So, but all her so-called friends laughed and agreed with me and said, I'm glad you did that. There's always got to be that one person that steps up, regardless of what the consequences could be, knowing they're doing the right thing, So I just want to tell you that funny story. But so Michael, can I ask how old you are?
Sure. I am 33.
Okay. And do you have any children?
I have two. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Okay.
And I'm expecting another one on Easter.
That's beautiful.
My 2 girls, and I'm expecting a boy.
That's beautiful. So, yeah. And the reason I ask is because I need my listeners to know who you are as a person. People need to have a little bit of a connection with someone to relate to them on some level. And we're going to be talking a lot about business here, but they need to know that you're a dad and you're a family man and that you're human and you're just like they are.
Well, I'll tell you in that, I'm definitely just like you. And everyone that's listening, because I think we're all in this together. We're all watching the same insanity on the news. We're all, we all get up every day and try to make a difference in the world, I think, for the most part. And actually in line with the conversation around my children, this morning I'm sitting on the couch and I look there and my daughter comes up and she puts the bracelet on me. And I don't know if you have, Jerry, how familiar are you with raising girls?
Okay, so I have a daughter who's 40. Trust me, I'm very familiar. I have a grandson who's 19, but I now have a granddaughter who's 5. I'm very familiar.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I am like always wearing something that these girls have, and this morning my 1-2-year-old comes over and she gives me a bracelet that she's made, at the crafts table, and my other daughter comes over and she goes, Daddy, and she goes and I see her and she puts this necklace over my head. My 4-year-old puts this necklace over my head, and I look down and she has taken a piece of a string, tied the string to each side of a piece of paper. So we've got a square piece of paper there, a 11-inch square piece of paper, string, and the piece of paper is soaking wet in paint, both sides. And I realized that she is just, and I am like, but it was an amazing painting that she drew.
Yes.
So on one hand, I'm like, oh man, I got to change my shirt. But I think that there's, in the spirit of that, we're all in this journey of experiencing our lives and experiencing our children and contributing to people. And there's like this moment where I got to have the opportunity to choose. Do I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, my dress shirt is trash, or do I look at it for what it is? Is this incredible piece of artwork that my daughter just gave me? And I think that the opportunity to choose the beauty in any given moment, I believe is something that's available. We always have that. It's in our state of being. And for me, living my life, choosing the beauty in a given moment is just I try to make it the way of being. I can't always, it's not always available. It's always available to me, but I can't always access it just due to whatever mindset I'm in. But if I'm able to sidestep that mindset, which is really what we're trying to provide, I think, as a cultural shift, the opportunity to create an empowering way of looking at the world, one that serves everybody. I think that if we're all able to just focus on that, we can get grounded in the relatedness that we all are connected. We all are on the same rock. And we owe it to ourselves to be able to be related to each other.
Yes. Relationships. That's what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's about.
Deep connection.
Yes. So, Michael, now I'm going to give you the floor. You can tell us anything and everything it is that you want us to know about what's happening with you with your business, because we really want to know.
Okay. Well, thank you, Geri.
Yes. Yes.
I guess I have to start off with the heart to heart.
Okay.
Everyone that's listening here, I don't know if you heard that little bell there. It's perfect timing. I believe that right now, right where you are, whatever, if you're sitting, if you're driving, if you're walking, wherever you're listening, that at the level of your being, you're perfect, whole, and complete. And Joseph Campbell was quoted in saying that most people are seeking the meaning of life, but what they're really looking for is the experience of being alive. That is the holy grail of experience, and that every single person has the experience of being alive and well within them. And unless you're dead, you're alive. And what would life be like if you were to acknowledge that you have that you have been given that ultimate gift of abundance of being alive? I think that's the first, if I had the stage and I could say that to anybody, it's that you're perfect, whole, and complete now. And then Michelangelo was quoted in saying that, when he was asked how he created David, which is a world-renowned marble statue.
Yes, I got to see it.
A piece of marble. Yeah,
I did. Yeah,
because it's beautiful, isn't it? It's
yes.
phenomenal.
Yes.
So now, Geri, it was said that he said when he was asked how he created David, he said, "I took a piece of marble and removed what wasn't David." and I think, it's like, what if you are perfect, whole, and complete right now, and that just like at the essence of who you are, and just like Michelangelo removed what wasn't David, you have the opportunity to remove what you declare is the inauthentic expression of that energy, so that you, instead of trying to go out there and amass a quality of life, acknowledging that you have the highest quality of life available to you now, and then building a container for it.
Wow.
So that's kind of what it is that we're doing here. If we were to say, well, what is true living? True living is looking to help people build the container for the God-given experience of life, and not trying to go out there and amass more, but acknowledge that if you're on the top of the mountain and you're looking out across the most beautiful landscape in the world, yes, that landscape is beautiful, but the awe that you're feeling, you have access to that awe, and you can bring that to your everyday tasks. You can bring it to the experience that you have when you're with your children, regardless of what necklace they're putting on you, and you can just share it with the world. And I think that from that space, Geri, everything is workable, and it all works out in communication. It works out through language. It works out when we're having powerful conversations with each other, and we're looking to build systems, and we're looking to build, we're looking to contribute. We have this idea of like a third mind.
Right.
We call it the mastermind. What is that third mind? It's when we all come together, united underneath one particular intention. That third mind is created, and it's greater than all of us. It's like a business system. If you're building a business, the goal of the business and everyone in the organization is to live a great life while serving that business. And the goal of the business is to serve the members in the organization. So I think it's just this micro shift in like having faith that we are in a state of abundance, that the problems that we perceive are abundant perceptions. They're believing in an illusion more than they are the presence of the presence of something. And so that's kind of, is that making sense at all?
Well, to me, it makes sense. To me, it makes absolute sense because, I remember, when I was in business, I was in business way too young. I got to say that because back in the 80s and 90s, we made way too much money back then being so young. We really did. And it got me into trouble. So, but I get what you're saying. And I wish I had your mindset, back then. So elaborate on it a little bit more. This is what I want you to do. Elaborate on it as if you're talking to people between like in their late 20s to late 30s.
Sure. Okay,
yes.
Great.
Yes.
So okay. So what I'd like to do is, and let me step back for a moment.
Okay.
The way that our brain works, the way that science tells us that our brain works. If I was speaking to a computer programmer today, and she goes, when you're programming computers at the micro level, you have ones and zeros, right? You have all these ones and zeros, and all these ones and zeros are strung together to produce code, and the code then helps the software system and the hardware system understand itself. And so in that same way, we have language. And that's even in the Bible. In the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word is God, right? And studies have shown that the way that we utilize language really allows us to. The Japanese, for example, the way that their language integrates with the brain, it's very mathematically oriented, where that's not the case for English, right?
Right.
So what happens is when we begin to understand language and we look at, well, how is language interpreted as a child? Because this is very relevant for anyone that's out there, because in order for you to get to be that age, right, Geri, you got to become a child first. Nobody just shows up at 20 years old with an education. So to understand this, we've got to look there and we've got to say, well, how is it that I interpreted language? And because if your brain is running on the language in which you've been exposed to. And if you think about every aha you've ever had, every breakthrough was inspired, typically, how right now people are listening to this.
Yes.
They don't see me, right? But you're understanding me through the language in which I'm using. And the language in which I'm using, you're giving meaning to. And hopefully the meaning that you'll give it is something positive, and it'll inspire you to take some sort of action.
Yes.
So if we look at the way that language is being interpreted as a young child, we're inside of the suit of that language in our household. Studies have shown that children that are growing up in areas in which they don't have financial resources, very often those families are using language that's very much based in the past tense, where affluent communities use language that's futuristic based. And so they're not even thinking. Your brain is not even thinking. It's not relating to itself that there is such a place as being able to do anything. There is such an opportunity. So I think what happens here is that language, the goal of language is to communicate with each other. And part of the goal of communication is to create a level of relationship, but also to inspire action. The action is what's going to produce a high quality life for you, right? That action is what's going to build a business. That's what's going to get you healthy. It's, you could think about eating healthy all day long, but until you actually pick up a healthy food and make it a habit, nothing's changed, right? So I think to kind of tie it up here, for anyone that's listening, what is it? What should you do? You should be part of a conversation, a community conversation. I mean, where transformation is available. If you look at the churches are conversation. That's what creates that community. They speak alike. They have similar beliefs, and I think that everybody owes it to themselves to really look to say, what is the conversation that I have with my family, with my church, with with the communities that I'm part of. Is the general conversation something that I want to participate in, and how can I change that conversation and bring more light to the people that I care about? And I think that that's really where it begins, and then expanding outward. And so in order for you to be able to do that, in order for you to be able to create like a cultural shift like we have here at True Living and impact hundreds of people's lives, we've got to understand how we're utilizing language with ourselves. And there is a structured conversation, Geri. We call it the greatest transformational experience on earth. There is a structured step-by-step conversation in which your brain gets the joke of how it's braining. It sees itself creating beliefs. It sees itself playing the trick on itself of disempowerment, but also empowerment. And I think once your brain gets that joke, it's like a great aha, and you have it forever. And then from there, the seed has been planted, and you can go into the world and you could kind of play the game of helping people kind of get out of it, just like you and I are kind of doing now.
I have to interrupt you real quick because I'll forget this. You just said something incredible about playing the game with your brain. So when I wrote my book, Michael, this is a true story. There's a chapter in there about mind over matter and the brain and blah, 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 right? And I said to myself, I really got to make sure I understand this before I write this chapter. That night, I laid in my bed and I have a sound machine. It's the ocean, and it was incredible. So I'm thinking of all really good thoughts. I'm thinking of the sun and the fish, right? And the waves. And then I deliberately started to think really, really, really bad thoughts. Well, my brain believed it was true, and it told my body. My heart started pounding. I started having a little tiny anxiety attack. I sat up really quick and I'm like, okay, I was faking it, God. I was faking it. And I'm like waving my hands. And I was like blown away that I could do that quickly to myself, knowing it was fake. So that tells people, that should tell people, right? What we do with our negative thoughts and our distorted thinking, how much damage it's doing to ourselves.
Amen. So I'd love to just do a little exercise with
everybody
if you're working with it. Okay. So first, hot topic here. We'll what I'd like for everyone to do, and if you're driving, don't close your eyes. But if you're in a position where you can just relax for a moment, what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to think of Donald Trump. Just allow yourself to visualize Donald Trump within your mind's eye. You'll kind of see, you'll see him, right? I mean, we've all seen Donald Trump, and if you allow yourself to visualize Donald Trump, you'll see Donald Trump. Now, I'm going to give you a moment just to let that sit in for a moment. Now that you can see Donald Trump, I'd like you to think of him with a green hat on, just a really bright green hat. And what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to intensify the green on that hat. See if you can create Donald Trump there with a green hat on. Excellent. So now, what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to put Donald Trump with a green hat on inside of a golf cart. Just see if you could see that green hat inside of the golf cart. Sitting there in the golf cart. And now, what I'd like for you to do, great job, guys, by the way, right? And it could be now what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to take Donald Trump with a green hat in that golf cart, and I'd like you to put that golf cart right in front of Walt Disney, right in front of Walt Disney World. So now, can you see it, Geri?
Yes, I'm doing it.
All right, now, if you guys, so hear me out. We just created that through language. What I did was I said, I'd like for you to think of Donald Trump, and you asked yourself, what does Donald Trump look like? Or you allowed me just to ask you, what does Donald Trump look like? And what happened was your brain brought up the file Donald Trump. Literally, like we typed into Google, search Donald Trump, your brain said, here, your wish is my command. And then what we did was we took that file, Donald Trump, and we took the file of Green Hat, and we literally combined them in what we call a vision. And it literally created new neurosynaptic connections. And then we did that same thing with the golf cart, and then we did that same thing with Walt Disney World. Now, here's the thing. Donald Trump has never had a green hat in a golf cart at Walt Disney World. We just made that up. But if we were to access that file, you think about it the same way you think about a memory. Like the brain can't tell the difference between a vision and a memory. So what happens is we continue to live into our past like Groundhog Day. Because unless we're sitting there and we're creating a vision for a future, the brain will always think that Donald Trump is the Donald Trump that we know, instead of ever considering that maybe what we have is our perception of Donald Trump, and our perception of Donald Trump is based off of whatever we were thinking at the time combined with the image in which we were experiencing. And now this is not a political conversation. My goal is not to persuade people.
No, that's really cool. No, but that's really cool what you just did. Go ahead, continue.
Now, here's the thing, Geri, is this. Now, I'd like for you to think about it like this. Imagine a field there, and in that field you see deer, and they walk in a path. Mm-hmm. Well, if you have hundreds of deer walking in the same path, it'll be all the way down to the dirt. You know, it's if you think about that tall grass, one deer going through tall grass doesn't leave too much of an impact. But if you have 100 deer through the same thing, now you've got a very deep groove. So in that same way, bear with me here. I'd like you to think about your internal emotional state, your emotions. Now, when I say, I'd like you to think of Donald Trump in a green hat, in a golf cart, in Walt Disney World, we kind of went on this journey, and each one of those items has its own, we'll call it already left there emotional state that we were living in and experiencing. But if we were really excited, like really excited right now, there would have been a much deeper emotional state of excitement, because the same way that we created Donald Trump in a green hat and a golf cart, if we're excited, when we ask ourselves a question, what does Donald Trump look like? Only now the question isn't what does Donald Trump look like? Now the question is what would it look like if I served my children today? And we're really in that grateful state. What'll happen is your brain, being the greatest goal-achieving machine on earth, will say, oh, here's a vision of what that will look like. And by the way, there is no emotion in that vision already, very little bit. But because you're grateful, I'm gonna hardwire that emotion, that vision, right into your system. Just like the deer walk across the field and they bury it into the grass, they bury all the way into the dirt, that path. If you're highly charged, if you're highly emotionally charged, and you ask yourself, what would make me grateful today? Your brain is going to give you a vision, and it's going to create that vision with your internal emotional state, and it's going to bury that into your brain. And if you do that enough, then you're going to completely see a new direction. But if you don't do that, then you're stuck with the past, because your brain can't tell the difference between a vision and a memory. So in the same way, Geri, that you were there and you were experiencing, you were asking yourself, you were able to shift and literally psych yourself right out of feeling comfortable.
Yeah. You
can do the same thing in a positive direction. And I would venture that, and now ready? I would venture that if every person on earth took responsibility for showing up powerfully for the visions that they were making and for the conversations that they were having, like you do, we would be in a much different place. And Absolutely. I think that if everyone on earth was willing to acknowledge that what you've gotten out of this conversation happened in language, and that your brain is getting the joke of how it's braining, they would owe it to themselves to get involved in this kind of conversation, a kind of conversation that redefines how we look at conversation in and of itself, from a creative standpoint versus a destructive standpoint, from a empowered standpoint, from an authoring your life perspective versus the conversation that we grew up with as children.
I'm going to say something. You're talking as if you read my book. You're talking as if you read my book. I am listening to you, and not only, of course, am I agreeing with everything you're saying, I've practiced the majority of it. That's why I am who I am today. Guys, you have to listen to him. If anyone out there is listening that's struggling, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, and I don't care what your struggles are. Struggles are struggles, guys. Okay, yes, some are deeper, some are stronger, some are worse. I get that. But we all have struggles as humans, right? We have the choice and the opportunity to change what's happening in our lives. Listen to this young man. He is saying everything empowering and accurate. He's not making this stuff up, and it's not his opinion. What he is stating are facts. So please, I'm begging you, listen to him. Okay, continue. I had to say that, Michael.
Well, thank you, Geri, and you know, and that's why I go back to just how honored I am to be here with you, because it's a bold conversation. It's really easy. It's really easy to hide out. You know, it's really easy to show up at family reunions where things are, you know, not the way that you always envisioned them because everybody's arguing, or, you know, or to not be able to be in a position. But I think that, you know, Geri, I think that what's an interesting paradox is that when you're willing to really step into that leadership position and be that voice for transformation, be that voice that people can choose their emotions, they can choose their thoughts, they can choose to engage in relationships that change the world. I think that I think that paradoxically, that's when you really start succeeding. And I want to acknowledge you for being that voice amongst millions of people.
Thank you. But I feel the same way about you. I mean, oh my goodness, what you're saying is unbelievable. You're saying is unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, you know, and I think so to answer your question, what we've created here inside of the True Living community,
yes,
is a community that is committed to having the conversation of how we can build a system that changes the world and changes business. We're not, you know, I'll tell you what we're not committed to. Right and wrong is not something we're not talking about right and wrong. You know, their opinions, then it's not my place to judge someone, right? We do talk about what works or what doesn't work, but it's not a right and wrong. It's not an accusation. It's not a judgment. It's a conversation over what's going to work here and what isn't going to work.
Yeah.
You know, and we do spend a lot of time. You know, I think Mother Teresa said once, she said, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family.
Amen. Amen.
You know, and I think it's important for us to take personal responsibility of that family nucleus, because if you and here, how's this one for you, Geri? If you look down at your hands right now,
okay,
that right, so that is your body. Your body has given you so much. And you think about those hands, they've been there for you from everything that you've ever done. All the times, I know for me, you know, addiction, you know, get kicked out of multiple schools. And, you know, for me, my body has loved me through all of it. And then when I look down and I think about my family members that have carried the ball for generation after generation after generation, so that I can look right now down at my hands and be grateful for them, I first never have to go anywhere to be grateful, because it's like I've got the whole world in my hands. You know, I've got so much contribution, and they did their best, you know, but it also makes me realize that I have the opportunity to give that gift to my family and the people that I come in contact with. And it starts with me. It starts with being present And it starts within my family, and it's the actions that I take with these hands, the ones that I'm looking at right now. So for me, it's like, I think that sometimes when we're feeling lost, it's important to have a place to go, to be found. And for me, I think being found lives within my hands.
So I want to say something about what you just said. So, there are people out there listening that maybe are disabled, right? And my favorite speaker, do you know who the gentleman is? He was on Oprah several times and all that, but no arms, no legs, no worry.
Oh yeah, great guy.
Okay, imagine that. And he even surfs. He has a family, and he was born with no arms and no legs. Mm-hmm. So I'm only bringing that up, guys, to let you understand that we get that there are people out there with disabilities and that have lives that they really are struggling with, and maybe it wasn't your fault, but we're here to tell you that there's always hope. There's always hope. And the good part about what's going on, like when I was younger, okay, and I'll put this out there because now I'm an open book. I'm going back 30 years, guys, okay? We didn't have internet and Google and all that stuff. We didn't have all this that you guys have now. A little bit, So I cured myself of 2 cancers naturally, and I traveled all over the world to do it. And I got certified in fasting, and that's how I did it, or I don't think I would be here today. But having said that, there's a reason why I'm saying that. You guys are so lucky today having all this at your fingertips. So you're not alone. And right, Michael, anyone who needs help, there's help out there for everyone, and they can find it so easy through technology, correct?
Absolutely. The world's at your fingertips.
World's at your fingertips.
And let me lean into that one, Geri. So beautifully said, is this, we got that before we were speaking about how the brain is the greatest goal achieving machine on earth. And it's like Google, and you just got to type in the right question.
Yeah.
I think that what happens is sometimes we ask ourselves a very paradoxical question, because if you think about it, and I promise that, just bear with me here. So if you think about a thought is this set of electrical impulses, right? And what a feeling is, what you feel is the hormonal soup that's related to those electrical impulses. So what happens is sometimes we ask ourselves a paradoxical question, like, what should I do? What should I do about this situation, Geri? What should I do? And then your brain says, well, here, your wish is my command. Here is all of the search results of what you should do. Now those search results, being that the idea of should is a past tense idea. In other words, you won't know what you should do about tomorrow. You can only, should is an opinion of past things that we've done. Okay. I should have done that, because we can look down the past, but we can't project should into tomorrow, because we don't even know if tomorrow's going to show up. So I think what happens is Geri, we use that ability to ask ourselves a powerful question, and we enter into a state of uncertainty. And then that uncertainty, we begin to have more and more thoughts that are in line with that thinking, because it takes time for the hormonal soup to clear out of the brain. So why am I such an idiot? Your brain says, your wish is my command. Here's all the evidence for why you're an idiot. By the way, the quality of your life is now, you're now living in the search results, right?
Oh my gosh.
But here's the thing. What if we flip that on the end? What if, instead of us being, what if we were to sit down and say, okay, not only is my brain the greatest search, the greatest goal achieving machine, not only is my brain the greatest goal achieving machine on earth, but I have a network of people that are goal achieving machines too. And we can all be working on answering the same question. Like, how do we solve world hunger? How do we create a financial system that supports everybody at a next level? How do we improve? What if we were all looking to tackle the same question in alignment, and we were utilizing things like Google and the resources that are available between when people reach out, the resources that are in your book, right? what if we were all engaged in asking the right question and then living our lives in pursuit of those answers? And the questions that we asked weren't paradoxical, by nature, real questions that we really wanted to pursue. I think that if we can recognize that our state of being is in answer to the question that we're asking ourselves, and then we ask ourselves the right question, and we even break that down to the point where you can Google it, I think that we're going to live a more empowered life. And sometimes that starts, Geri, with doing something like being there and saying, hey, you know what? I haven't actually read Geri's book, and I've been listening to her show, and I owe it. I wonder what's inside of that book, and then actually taking the action of buying it. I think that when people are on the precipice of change, that there's that scratch, that itch to take an action. Don't talk yourself out of it.
Right. That's right.
When it comes
That's right. I have to say this. I'm interrupting you. I'm sorry. Don't talk yourself out of it. Listen, we all have thoughts, right? Negative and positive. Why do we feel like it's easier to go with the negative thought? Don't talk yourself out of that positive thought, guys. Okay, continue, Michael. I loved it. I loved what you just said.
You hit the nail on the head, Geri, because it is. We go through our lives, and those are our agreements. A belief is a decision. A belief is, a belief is an agreement that we've made with ourselves. We all have all kinds of thoughts, but the moment you have an agreement with a thought, now you have a belief. So if you look at there and you say, okay, well, wait a minute, in that moment in which you're feeling that expansiveness, you're saying, hey man, I'm thinking, and maybe somebody's out there today and they're dealing with addiction, and they know that things need to change. They know, they can feel it, right? That things need to change. I'm not 100% sure. I'm listening to Geri, to the show right now. I know that Geri's got a great book on addiction. Maybe I should buy it. Maybe I should, and you feel yourself teeter-tottering there. The agreement to take the action is what produces the result. And what's interesting about that, Geri, is because, listen, how you feel, and people say, they get so upset with me. I say, how you feel makes no difference. They say, Mike, how can you say that? How I feel matters so much. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but in my world, I wasn't aware of how you were feeling. I do know when you call up and say something to me, that makes a difference. But how you felt about what, that makes no difference. It's the actions that we take that make a difference. You can feel good, or you can feel bad about your family life. What's going to make the difference is the conversations that you have to change whatever it is that you're committed to changing.
Yes.
Because, yep.
Yes. Keep going.
Well, it's just, I think my hope is to inspire some sort of action, because I think what happens is we get addicted to the conversation. We get addicted to what I call lateral conversation where we bat the idea back and forth. We have this tendency where I feel disconnected, and then I don't feel, I feel disconnected, and we keep batting the idea back and forth in the relationships in our life or in our situation, instead of really learning the lessons that's there, recognizing that we have the opportunity to learn, and then taking an action that changes our lives forever. And I think that if we were all out there taking action, if there's somebody there and they're thinking about possibly buying the book or addressing addiction for the first time, you're not going to know how that's going to look. You're not going to know if you should or you shouldn't buy the book till after you buy the book, you read it, and then you have the opportunity to look back. To ask yourself if you should or shouldn't take action on an action is to ask yourself a paradoxical question. It's just whether or not I'm committed to creating something in my life. Am I committed to is the action that I'm about to take going to change the world for the better? If everybody did this, would the world be a better place? Yes. And then you take the action over and over and over and over and over again, and they're not always going to be good. They're not always going to work out. But if you take 10 actions, 2 of them may stick. And if you take another action, another one may stick. They say, Geri, that when a comedian is making his set list, he goes on stage and he's got about 10, 20 jokes. He tells all his jokes, and maybe 2 of them people laugh at. The other ones, people just got, crickets in the room. Now what he does is he takes those 2 jokes and he keeps them, and then he rewrites another 8. Goes out and says it again, and eventually he's got a whole entire set list. So it's about, you know, making the leap. It's about taking the action. And the thing of it is this: the game of not knowing, you're not going to know how. In fact, no one listening has ever known how they were going to do something that they had never done before. You had an idea, but the experience of understanding how to do something, like not the textbook of driving the car, but the actual driving of the vehicle of how to do something, that happens when you make the decision to do it, and then you figure it out. And then you understand how, because you can look back into your past and how shows up as a line, as a direction. So what I'm saying here is this, is that there may be an area inside of your life in which you're ready to take some sort of action. And you're not going to know how to do it. You just won't. But if you make the decision to transform that area of your life right now, which is available to each and every person listening, the opportunity and the decision to transform that area of your life, to bring it, to address it head on. If you make that decision, how will show up? If you're willing to be in that state of uncertainty, if you're willing to be in that vulnerable space as you take action, how will show up? And it's that space, Geri, that you and I have mastered. Being in that space of uncertainty, being vulnerable with people, being open and connecting with them, and not trying to be right or wrong, or prove a point or dominate, but just to be connected with somebody and have faith that how will show up.
So, okay, wow. Everything that you just said is just so incredible to me. Okay. I love everything you just said. How can you help people? How do they reach out to you? Like, do you do classes? Are they online? Do you hold seminars? What do you do?
Okay. Yes. So, and let me conclude that little portion there.
Yeah.
Because it ties right into what we're talking about.
Yes.
You're not going to know how, but you can certainly know who.
Yay!
You know, it's who, not how, ladies and gentlemen. You want to grow a massive organization, you can't play all the positions. You gotta align yourself with people that are headed in the right direction, that are headed in a direction that works for you. And so you surround yourself with the right who's.
Wait,
so for me,
wait, one second, real quick. I have to interrupt you. I'm Italian. I have to interrupt you. So
yeah, go for it.
everyone will call me and say, I know you know a guy. And they'll, like, it doesn't matter. And I'm like cracking up because I usually do.
Exactly.
It's who?
And you're that person who knows the people.
That's so great. All right, continue. I just had to say that.
No, it's cool. It's cool. And I'm gonna tell you too, Geri. I get it. Like,
oh my God.
Talking this whole time. But you know what? It's true. You know, I'm that who for people that want to grow a thriving business and want to structure their life, want to work themselves to a balanced and fulfilling lifestyle, and learn how to create strategies and really have that mindset. I'm that who, and so sometimes it's just literally picking up the phone and saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to give Mike a call, or I'm going to give Geri a call. For you, it's addiction. People that are experiencing addiction that are ready to take that leap, you know? So I would say that the way that, so we have workshops that we offer. I've trained facilitators in the methodology. We have workshops that we offer. They all have backgrounds, everything from MBAs to psychotherapists and psychologists. So it's really a living philosophy. It's a conversation, like we said, and it gets implemented in many various areas. So I would say that that's what we offer. We offer workshops. We have what we coined, which we're launching. It's the first ever, what we're calling the greatest transformational experience on earth. I know that that's a huge promise, but I promise I'm going to deliver on it. It's a 12-week high-intensity group coaching program for entrepreneurs that want to launch their business and grow a team around solving a problem in the world, like real transformational leaders. And that's going to be launched in January, I believe. And then we have one-on-one coaching. I do coaching and speaking engagements and things like that. And Anthony, Anthony, he's trying to get me to write a book, but I don't know if I have the bandwidth for it right now, but people will probably be able to check that out at some point.
But you probably know a guy who can help.
I do. You know what? Yeah, exactly. He knows a guy who knows a guy. Hey, Geri, true story, right? So our my sister owns a marketing agency, and we wound up just launching part of Horizon's website.
Okay.
Right? And now people say, well, wow, how did you go? You guys are pretty young. How'd you get this marketing agency? How'd you work with a company like Verizon? Well, we know people. We have parties and people come by, and we can't market to them. And I think that's the joke.
That's great.
It's not about running around finding resources you don't have. That's exhausting. It's about tapping into the resources that you do have and having the mindset of recognizing that you can tap into any resources that you have. And ladies and gentlemen, the resources that you have are the resources that you have. If you know it as a resource, it's available to you.
It's great. That's great.
So yeah, that's kind of. Oh, and then we have our open workshop. We have a networking event that we host every Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's just entrepreneurs, like-minded entrepreneurs coming together, loving each other, helping support each other's businesses grow, and our personal lives thrive. And I think that the way that people are interested in that kind of a thing, Geri, then they can go find us. It's a closed group, but they'll be able to find us on the True Living Tribe.
Okay.
So True Living Tribe. And I see you in that group.
Yeah.
I just posted about the show today in there. So people can join the True Living Tribe, and when you come in, just create a little mini video saying, hey, this is me, or don't, and just fly on the wall of the group. And that'll give you access to our Wednesday night calls. And, actually, Geri, we just had our website crash.
Okay.
We're rebuilding it, right? And most people would have been around crying, but not us. We said as soon as it happened that night, I was up, started rebuilding immediately. We had a domain error. But people will be able to come check us out at trueliving.team in the future.
Okay. So
that should be done next week.
So Michael, we've talked about a lot here today, and if you need to talk a little bit more, we still have a few minutes. Is there anything else that you may have missed that you would like to say?
Geri, I think I want to ground out in who you are as a human being, because I think that when people listen to somebody that's accomplished as yourself, and they sit there and they say, well, how is it that I could? I think that at first it can be a little hard to place yourself there. I could be that. I'm sure there's people that are listening that are like, I'd like to have a show, or I'd like to help hundreds of people change their lives, and I'd like to impact the world. And I think that from that perspective, it can seem like it's really far off. But I think that you've exemplified that you can do it. That it's a matter of doing it, and that there's a path. And what I wanted to kind of share here is that path is as simple as reaching out and contacting you. It's as simple as getting the book and sending you an email. The people that are out there changing the world are a phone call away. And I want to acknowledge and honor you for being that for so many people, because I think that as the tides kind of ebbs and flows and we go through our life, it's really easy to miss the incredible resources that we have right in the seat, right where you are. And it goes back to what we were sharing before, which is that right now you're perfect, whole, and complete, and that you have the access to the holy grail of experience, and that just like Michelangelo was asked how he created David, that it took a piece of marble and removed what David, you are the kind of person that's on the other end of that chisel who's like, hey, by the way, here's the hammer that you're going to need to just chisel that one last little piece that you declared doesn't work for you. Not that the community said, this doesn't work, but you said, you know what? I am not going to deal with this addiction anymore. I am going to address my business at the next level. I am going to live that life. And I've heard what I need to hear. I'm ready to take action. I just want to acknowledge you for being that person in so many people's lives that helps them pick the tools that they're going to need to move forward, that helps them get in alignment. And you do that without a loss of enthusiasm over and over and over again. And you do it here on this show. So I'm grateful to be here and to have spent some time with you, to spend some time with somebody who's out there doing such great things in the world.
Well, I want to thank you for that, Michael. We have someone in the chat room, a friend of yours, maybe Rowan Capers, saying hi.
No.
Okay.
Hi, Rowan.
Hi, Rowan. A friend of mine, maybe. Hi, Rowan.
Maybe.
So I want to, first of all, thank you for that. I appreciate what you just said. I want to piggyback on that for people out there listening, because a lot of people think age matters, and I'm here. Oh, hi, Rowan. Yes. No, I know who you are. Natalie's friend. A lot of people think age matters, and I'm here to tell you it does not. All right. Not only have I interviewed people in their 80s and 90s, okay, I actually was honored to interview Elvis Presley's nurse, Marion, and she's 93 now, I believe, and she's a friend of mine now after that interview, and she was incredible. And I've interviewed authors in their 80s. A woman wrote her first book at 80 years old and her second one at 82, okay? So I want to say that to say this, guys. Listen, I'm going to be 60 years old in March. And who would have thought in my 50s, not only was I going to write one book, but then I was going to revise it. And now it's up to 200 pages. Not only was I going to get a radio show, then I end up on 5 networks, and only 3 years into it. I'm only on radio 4 years, guys. Only 3 years into it, I get enshrined into the 2019 Internet International Hall of Fame for radio show host. I'm saying all this not to pat myself on the back, to let you people know age means nothing. Never say never, and never give up on your dreams and your hopes. Listen, when I was asked to do a radio show after I wrote my first book, they interviewed me on Hamilton Radio and then said, we want you to do a show. I laughed and said, no, I don't think so. And then they asked me, think about it. And about 4 weeks later, God said, yes. And God woke me up in the middle of the night, tapped me on the shoulder. This is a true story, Michael, and said, write your book. And I giggled and I said, you want me to write my book? He said, write your book. So everybody out there listening, I'm going to be 60 years old. There's nothing I can't do. There's nothing I can't do. And there's nothing I haven't done. I've even jumped out of a plane. Okay. Listen, I took my 15-year-old daughter, who's 40 now, and you can ask her this, to New Zealand and threw her off the bridge. The one AJ Hackett did his first jump with her screaming. Okay. Made her do it. So listen, I am crazy, but yes. But my point is, guys, you only have one life. So why not make the best of it? Why not do everything that's in the back of your mind that you hope or wish one day you might be able to, or maybe want to try? What do you have to lose? When people say this, Michael, well, what if this happens? I laugh and say, yeah, but what if this happens? That's me. And I'm here to tell all of you, this young man right here, Michael, listen, Michael Peluso, he is incredible. He is probably one of the most incredible motivational speakers I've ever interviewed. And I'm not just saying that because I don't just say things to say things, guys. So I'm letting you know that. So Michael, I love you. And I want to thank you for this interview, for honoring me with this. I'm going to do me a favor. I'm giving you permission to post everything about what you do on my timeline. You never have to worry. I don't care if it's 3 times a day. You can post and post and post all your stuff. Okay? And we're going to help people out there. We're going to help save lives. And I love you for what you're doing. You're an absolutely incredible, incredible young man inside and out. So thank you.
Thank you, Geri. That means the world to me. And it's just really been an honor to be here. And just to to share. You know, Geri, I remember sitting in my kitchen with a professional executive coach who looked at me and he said, you know, Mike, I don't think you have what it takes to run a business. And I remember at that moment being like, oh yeah, watch me now. And that was like 6 years ago, you know? So I think that I totally resonate with it. And you're right. You're just so thank you so much for sharing that, because it's so true. Because how many people have had that experience of thinking that our dreams aren't going to come true? And I say that what we really unite around is knowing that we can do it, knowing that we can do it through faith, that we can do it through it. I could go on for hours, Geri.
No, listen, I understand. Listen, I feel the same way. Listen, there's a young man out there. Check him out. His name is John Boy Story. Okay. Storey. John Boy. Jonboy. He's an incredible young country artist. You ready for this? He is flying high now. One of his hit songs is called Thank You for the Doubt. Do you know who he wrote it about? I think it was his sports teacher or gym teacher said, listen, stop doing the music. You're never going to make it. Stick to sports. Okay. Yep. How about that? So we hear these stories all the time. And that's, you know, and even the basketball player, all his failures, right? Michael.
Yep.
Wait, is it Michael? I forget, but you know who I'm talking about. Like, we hear this all the time. And the best part about this is this, guys. Listen, when I look back on my life, and I'm a lot older than you are, Michael, but when I look back on my life, I don't think I have regrets, because everything that went on brought me to this place here. So I don't think anyone out there, you know, should really live their life with regrets and try to make everything that you did negative, turn it into something positive. And you'll be surprised what could happen. Right, Michael?
Amen.
So.
That's it.
So that's it. I think we did it.
Now, if you heard that and you're not in action in some area of your life, then geez.
I think we did it.
Then forget it.
Then forget it, right?
Let this be that doubt in your life. You'll never amount to that.
Listen, forget about it. Forget about it. Michael, thank you, sweetheart. Listen, this isn't over. We're going to do another interview. We're going to set something up, because for 2021, this interview was far more incredible than I thought it could ever be. So I want to thank you for that. All right. So having said that, everybody, this video will be out there on YouTube. It will also be on Facebook. It's already there on Facebook now. So please share this video. Let's get this everywhere. Okay. So Michael Peluso, one last time, tell everyone your name and your business.
Yeah, sure. It's Michael Peluso, and the business is True Living.
There you go. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Michael.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on the show. It's been an honor, and I hope everyone out there has a phenomenal, continues to have a phenomenal life.
Yay. And here he is, guys. Here's his photo, Michael. And with that, we're going to end. Thank you, everybody.
Bye for now.